Your undermount sink may look perfectly fine today. No leaks, no movement, no obvious problem. But if it was installed the way I see sinks installed all over the Dallas area today, it might be held up by little more than silicone, some epoxy, and probably a lot of hope. And that is not good enough, guys. An undermount sink is heavy. Add dishes, water, a garbage disposal, for example, daily use, vibration, kids leaning on it, and years of moisture breaking down the seal, and that sink can slowly start separating from the countertop. When it finally lets go, it can damage plumbing, flood your cabinet, ruin the wood underneath, and turn a simple repair into a much bigger mess. So today I want to explain why many undermount sinks are installed wrong, what warning signs homeowners should look for, and what can be done before the sink actually drops. My name is Paul, and I work with stone countertop repair, restoration, polishing, sealing, chips, cracks, seams, and sink-related countertop problems here in the North Dallas area. One of the biggest hidden problems I keep seeing is undermount sinks that were never properly supported. Most homeowners do not think about this. They look at the countertop surface. They look at the color, the shine, the island, the backsplash, the faucet, the clean modern look. But almost nobody opens the cabinet and asks the most important question. How is this sink actually being held up? That question matters, because an undermount sink is not like a top mount sink. A top mount sink has a rim that sits on top of the countertop. The countertop helps carry the weight. An undermount sink hangs underneath the countertop. That looks cleaner, but it also means the installation has to be done correctly. The sink needs a seal, yes, but most importantly, it needs real support. The seal should only be there to prevent any leaks between the sink and the actual countertop. To have the sink supported, you actually need a physical support, not epoxy, not the sealant. The real problem is this. Here is where many installations fail. Too many undermount sinks are basically glued to the underside of the stone with silicone adhesive, epoxy, or some combination of materials. Sometimes there are clips, but the clips are usually weak. They bend out after a time. Some of them rust depending on what they're made of. Sometimes clips are missing. Sometimes they get loose. Sometimes they were installed poorly. Sometimes they are attached to the cabinet material that does not hold well long term. Sometimes there's no real mechanical support at all. And let me be very clear. Silicone is not a structural support system. Silicone is a sealant. Again, its job is to stop water from getting between the sink and the countertop. It's not supposed to carry the full weight of a sink forever. Epoxy can be strong, but epoxy is not magic. It doesn't stretch, it breaks. If the surface was dusty, oily, wet, uneven, poorly prepped, or if the bond was not done correctly, that connection can weaken over time. To actually tell you, it will weaken over time, no matter how it was installed. Epoxy is not meant to hold up a sink at all either. And even when adhesive holds for a while, the basic problem is still there. The sink should not depend only on glue. A sink needs mechanical support. That means something physical carrying the weight. Brackets, rails, wood supports, metal supports, proper sink clips, or another solid support system. Something that does not depend only on a bead of sealant. Now, someone might say, listen, my sink has been fine for 10 years. That's great, but it does not automatically mean the installation was correct. Some bad installations survive for years until they do not. That is why and what makes the problem dangerous. It can fail slowly. The sink starts separating a tiny bit at a time. The caulking line opens. Water starts getting into the cabinet. You won't even see it. You may not notice it right away. The cabinet base starts swelling. The wood gets soft. a musty smell develops. The garbage disposal adds more downward force because it's heavy. Then one day, someone fills the sink with water, stacks dishes into it, or bumps it hard, and the whole thing drops. Now, it is not just a sink problem. Now, you may have plumbing damage, cabinet damage, a broken drain connection, and water inside the cabinet. If the sink drops while water is running, it can flood the cabinet fast. And the crazy part is, a lot of this can be prevented with proper support. Now, in the Dallas area, I see a lot of beautiful kitchens. Expensive countertops, nice islands, nice materials, granite, quartz, marble, quartzite as well, all of it. A lot of it in new homes. A lot of bad sink installations are in brand new homes because they're building these houses so fast, they don't really support the sinks and they cut corners on a lot of things. So you have to be careful. Now, underneath the sink, the installation is often not as beautiful as the surface of the counter. I have seen sinks with old dried out silicone barely hanging on. I have seen sinks where the front edge was already separated and the homeowner had no idea. I have seen sinks where someone tried to recaulk the top because they saw a gap, but nobody fixed the real issue underneath. I have also seen sinks where the garbage disposal was adding weight to an already weak installation. I have seen cabinets already water damaged because the seal broke long before the sink actually moved. This is why I tell homeowners, do not wait until the sink falls. If you see warning signs, handle it early. Now, here are the warning signs. Here are the signs your undermount sink may be installed wrong or starting to fail. Number one is you see a visible gap between the sink and the actual countertop. Even if a small gap matters, even if it's a small gap, it matters because water can get into it. If you see a separation, the bond or support may already be compromised. Number two, the caulking line keeps cracking, peeling, turning black, or opening up. A little discoloration over time is normal, but if the caulk keeps failing, that can mean movement. Number three, you see water inside the cabinet after using the sink. Do not ignore that. Water under the sink may be the first sign that the seal between the sink and the stone is already broken, may not be visible. Number four, the sink moves when you push on it. This is a major warning sign. Your sink should not flex, bounce, drop, or shift when pressure is applied. Number five, the cabinet underneath smells musty, feels damp, or shows swollen wood. That usually means water has been getting in for a while. Number six, the sink has a heavy garbage disposal and no visible support underneath. That does not automatically mean it's failing, but it is something worth checking on. And number seven, you see old blobs of adhesive, random pieces of wood, broken clips, rusted hardware, or messy repairs underneath. That actually means somebody already patched the issue instead of fixing it properly. Now, here is the wrong fix. Here is the mistake many people make. They see a gap around the sink and think, all right, I'll just recaulk it. But if the sink is separating, caulk alone is not the fix. Recaulking a loose sink is like putting tape over a crack in a bridge. It may hide the problem for a little while, but it does not solve the structural issue. If the sink is moving, the new caulk will fail again because the sink is still moving. The real question is not, can we make the line look clean from above, or is it going to stop water or anything else? The real question is the sink properly supported underneath? That's what counts. If it is not, the sink needs to be secured first. It needs to be lowered. The lip of the sink has to be cleaned. The bottom of the stone has to be completely cleaned. New sealant needs to be applied, the sink needs to be raised back up, and proper support need to be installed. After that, the joint between the sink and the stone will be looking completely like new. Support first, seal has to be clean, and then you'll have a beautiful, perfect installation. Now, a properly supported undermount sink should not rely only on silicone or glue. The weight should be carried by something physical. Depending on the situation, that may be wood supports installed inside the cabinet. It may be metal brackets or rails, depending on the sink. It may be a sink support system already that came with the sink, made for the undermount sinks. It may include proper clips, depending on the countertop, cabinet, sink, and available space. The exact method can vary, but the principle is always the same. The sink needs physical support, so gravity is not constantly pulling against a glue joint. Think of it like a shelf. You would not glue a heavy shelf to the wall and load it with dishes forever. You would use brackets, screws, studs, or something structural. An undermount sink deserves the same exact logic. Now, why homeowners miss this? Most homeowners miss this because the problem is hidden. From above, the countertop looks great. The sink looks good, the faucet works, the kitchen functions normally, right? Unless you look underneath, you may never know the sink is weak. Also, many homeowners assume that because the kitchen was remodeled professionally, everything must have been done correctly. I wish that were always true. It's not. As I'm telling you from my personal experience, I see a lot of problems with sink installations in brand new houses. Now, there are excellent installers who do great work, but there are also rushed jobs, cheap jobs, flip houses, builder grade shortcuts, bad repairs, and installations where nobody wanted to spend the extra time or money to support the sink correctly. Now, the homeowner sees the finished kitchen. The weak point is hidden inside the cabinet. That's why you don't see it. Now, what you should do right now, as you're listening to this, here is a simple check you can do. Open the cabinet underneath your sink. Take a flashlight. Look around the edges where the sink meets the bottom of the countertop. Look for gaps. Look for water stains. Look for swollen cabinet wood. Look for dark areas. Look for rushed and rusted clips. Look for cracked silicone. Look for anything loose, sloppy, or separated. Now, if you only see glue and no actual physical support holding up that sink, it's already an issue. Gently also press upward and downward on the sink. Do not go crazy. Do not try to break it. Just check if it moves. If it moves, that is not normal. Also, check the caulk line from above. Is it clean and tight all the way around? Or do you see a black line, a gap peeling caulk, or an opening where water can get through? That is very important to know. If something looks suspicious, do not ignore it. It can do a lot of damage. What not to do? Do not keep loading the sink with heavy pots and pans if you already see any kind of separation. Do not fill it with water to test it if it looks loose. Do not assume more silicone will solve the problem. Silicone will not hold up the sink. Do not let someone smear caulk around the top and call it fixed. Do not wait for the sink to fall before dealing with it. And do not ignore water getting into the cabinet. Water damage does not stop because you're busy. It keeps spreading. Why this is a bigger issue than people think. This repair does not sound exciting until it happens to you. Nobody wakes up thinking, today I should worry about my undermount sink support. But once that sink drops, now it gets urgent. Now you're calling a plumber, a countertop repair guy, maybe a cabinet guy, maybe even someone for water damage. Now the kitchen is disrupted. Now the repair costs a lot more. Now the cabinet smells like wet wood. Now the garbage disposal is hanging weird. Now everybody is wondering why nobody caught it earlier. That is why prevention matters. A properly supported sink protects the cabinet. It protects the plumbing. It protects the countertop area. It helps keep water where it belongs. It's not glamorous, but it matters. Now, my honest take. My honest opinion is simple. If an undermount sink is being held up only by adhesive and sealant, that is not good enough. You might not have a separation. You might not have a leak yet. But if it's only epoxy or silicone holding up that sink, especially if it has a garbage disposal, it needs to be addressed ASAP. Maybe it holds for a while. Maybe it holds for years. But it is still not the way I would want my own kitchen sink supported. I want something physical carrying that weight. I want real support. I want the sink secured in a way that makes sense, not just stuck to the bottom of a slab and forgotten about. Now, this is especially important with heavier sinks, larger sinks, garbage disposals, busy family kitchens, and any sink that gets used constantly. Now, when to call a professional? If your sink is already separated, moving, leaking, or showing signs of failure, that is when you should call someone who understands countertops and sink supports. This is not just about making a pretty caulk line. It is about evaluating the installation, supporting the sink properly, putting in new sealant, cleaning the joints, resealing it, and making sure the sink is not going to keep pulling away. Sometimes the repair is straightforward. Sometimes cabinet access is tight. Sometimes old adhesive has to be cleaned out. And sometimes the sink needs to be lifted back into position. Every situation is different, but the goal is simple. Stop relying on failed adhesive and give the sink real support. Now, if you're in the North Dallas area and you're not sure whether your undermount sink is installed correctly, this is something I can take a look at. You can send clear photos to me or a short video of the underside of your sink, especially where the sink meets the countertop, the inside of the cabinet, and any areas where you see gaps, leaking, or separation. If it needs an in-person inspection, we can go from there and discuss it. Now, the big message is simple. Your undermount sink should not be hanging by faith, silicone, and old glue. It needs proper support. If everything looks solid, great. But if you see gaps, movement, leaking, cracked sealant, water damage, or a sink that looks like it's slowly pulling away and it has no physical support, do not ignore it. The best time to fix a failing undermount sink is before it falls, because you may spend $200-$300 to do it now, or you may spend $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 when it does a lot of damage. Before it breaks, do it before it breaks your plumbing, before it floods the cabinet, and before a small problem becomes a big expensive headache. Open the cabinet, look underneath. Do not just trust the pretty countertop from above. The real story is usually hiding under the sink. And if you need help with countertop repair or undermount sink support in the North Dallas area, reach out to me. I would rather help you fix it early than get the emergency call after the sink already dropped and you need a lot more work. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I will be posting a lot of videos with a lot of different advice, help tips for countertop maintenance, countertop care, countertop repair, and all kinds of different things. Thank you for watching. My name is Paul, and I'll see you in the next one.